When asked how do they think Greece sounds like, most people would tell you stories about those traditional instruments and they would think that it sounds quite bright. So today we are here to debunk that assumption with the Soundz Flame. This is a universal linear monitor. Excuse me, that was a loud noise because the case is made of metal and padded on the inside. This is a universal linear monitor made of a custom. The company typically creates custom IEMs, and it has a really lovely, thick and smooth sound. At about $1,100, this IEM is made for musicians. Most musicians from Greece use a Soundz IEM, and they are the most popular custom IEM creator in all of Greece, which is a pretty large country. So the company is very popular there. But now they started becoming popular out of Greece. Most people in the West started learning about the Soundz sound. So at high-end Munich, they were the only company that would take custom IEM orders because they brought on with them an audiologist. It is one of their representatives, and they were able to take impressions, to take orders for customs, and they created custom IEMs right there at high-end Munich, which was an impressive thing to see. Soundz Flame is beautiful. This has a deep purple color, but you can customize your version with any model you want. I just wanted to have something representative of the product that I'm reviewing. For example, the blade was blue, very similar to the images the company uses on their own website. I did the flame with a pink color, and the Avant is just pure black. I was not very inspired with that one, but it was the first collaboration with the company. I'm actually looking forward to reviewing everything they make because the sound is totally worth the asking price. This is a multi-driver IEM with mainly balanced armatures to keep the sound consistent and cohesive. They have a deep fitting, pretty similar to a custom IEM, and they have a similar degree of passive noise isolation. This is a very good style because they are made of a very biocompatible sheen, which means that your ears will never grow tired of you having those IEMs inside. The default tips are pretty good this time around, although I do upgrade the tips to DD Hi-Fi ST35 while doing my testing because I don't want my ear to come in contact with too many types of silicone. If you allow your ears to always come in contact with a different type of silicone, eventually you may develop a rash and you may become irritated to using IEMs. The comfort of the Soundz Flame is very good. It is a very lightweight IEM. The cable is of a good quality, although it looks quite basic. So the cable doesn't have that flashy design that some high-end custom cables do, but you can order the Soundz Flame with a 4.4mm balanced cable, which is super pleasing. We have a switch on the IEM, and that switch turns the bass on and off, but let's call it the bass switch. This is what it does. It is an electronic crossover switch, so there is no change in the internal design of the Soundz Flame, but it changes the electronic crossover to allow for more bass. The transport case is one of the best features because it will keep them really safe. The cable is connected to the IEMs with a standard 2-pin connector, which is pleasing. It is the most standard way to connect a cable to the IEMs. The cable pins are very tight, so the connector is tight, but every single aftermarket cable I tested with them works very well. I still have a cut on my left index finger. I did not think this through. Connecting and disconnecting a cable is a pretty hard thing to do when you have a cut on your finger. The passive noise isolation is incredibly strong. It is one of the strongest out there at about 25 to 30 decibels of passive noise isolation, which is to be expected from a custom IEM. And it is pretty easy to drive, although this also means that it's quite sensitive to background noise. In fact, Soundz IEMs are not quite as sensitive as campfire IEMs to background noise, but still fairly sensitive at the custom level. Customs tend to be more sensitive because they use only balanced armatures, which are sensitive by nature. It is much easier to burn a balanced armature than it is to burn a dynamic driver. And yet, Sennheiser EA900, which uses just one dynamic driver, I managed to burn them. I don't even know what exactly I paired with them, but I managed to burn the left ear. Disappointing, considering that they are a dynamic driver based IEM. And you know, public knowledge tells you that balanced armatures are more sensitive. I actually managed to never burn a single IEM that has balanced armatures. I don't want to change that. I would prefer leaving it that way, but just saying. Soundz Flame sounds quite warm, which is ironic considering that the sound is pretty relaxed, smooth and rich as well. It is not the type of warm but aggressive sound. It's warm but smooth, full and romantic. It creates a very forgiving, laid back and relaxed sound, which does have a pretty good soundstage. It creates a good amount of instrument separation and a good amount of depth. That warmth creates a lot of depth. You can really tell how far an instrument is playing relative to you. You also can tell what layer you're in. It creates a good amount of layering. It doesn't just present the foreground and the background. It presents you a good amount of layering. Each instrument plays it in its own layer and is good for monitoring too. In fact, the company sells those for monitoring, mixing, mastering, and recording. They aren't designed for music listening, but they noticed that audiophiles are a better public than music creators. And by better, I mean more in number. It's always about the round numbers. The market for musicians is quite limited. There are only so many artists compared to music lovers. Everyone enjoys good music, right? I'm more willing to invest in that passion than most people. I'm more willing to invest time, effort, money, and everything into this passion for music. But at the root, at our roots, everyone just loves music. It's something universal. Music is part of our human experience and it is part of our human design. So it's only natural that the company expanded to sell those IEMs not just to musicians, but also to music lovers too. Soundz Flame has a more relaxed sound than most flagships and most IEMs in this price range, as most of them tend to go for a pretty bright sound, which is much more technically revealing. But Soundz Flame is an IEM designed for relaxation, for having the information presented to you, but not force-fed to you. You get every single bit of detail, but you never feel like that detail is too much. You never feel fatigued from having too much detail, which is something I appreciate. I like having a good amount of detail, but not being forced to hear everything. If you put everything under a magnifying glass, you will see both the bad and the good. While Soundz Flame tends to reveal the good in music, the warmth, the emotion, the fullness of the sound without presenting you with the grain, the fatiguing elements, the mistakes in the recording and the mastering process, it tends to allow only the good to shine through. And I think that's a good philosophy for describing how the Flame sounds like. Although the sound is not the most technically inclined out there, so it is not technically centric, Soundz Flame requires a good source to truly shine. So if you really want to squeeze every last bit of performance out of the Flame, you can pair it with a high-end app, for example, like iBasso DX320, iBasso DX320 Max Ti, also iBasso D16, or something from Shanling, Fio K9 Pro ESS. There are a lot of high-end sources that can truly complement the Soundz Flame, but the best one is typically a brighter one because the sound is already smooth and warm. You want something which is dry, which sounds technically accurate, and which is fast and bright. You want that type of brightness. In that aspect, something from Burson Audio is typically the best source for the Soundz Flame because it puts a bit more power into the sound, a bit more punch, and a bit more brightness. The sound really is not that bright. At the end of the day, you may be wondering if the Flame would be good for you, to which you should answer to yourself, do you like a romantic signature? Do you like a lot of bass? And do you like a laid back and relaxed signature? If the answer is yes to all three of those questions, go for the Flame. If the answer is yes to even one of those questions, the Flame might be a great idea. Another great idea would be to subscribe to Audiophile Heaven, to like this video, and to donate a few dimes if you have any to spare. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are having a good time. I really hope that everyone watching this video is having a blessed week and a life full of love. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope we'll see each other really soon. Bye!